Alright guys, so today I want to talk about Raizen versus Meruem. I actually saw a post on Amino Apps, or maybe it was somewhere else, but they were basically saying Meruem would slap Raizen. They didn't really give any concrete evidence on either side. I guess they just kind of assumed that since they like Hunter x Hunter's writing more, or they like the new animations more, or something along those lines, they just automatically assumed that Meruem is way stronger than Raizen. Or maybe it's because he looks like Perfect Cell, so they were kind of going by the lines like, oh, maybe he's, solar system level or something, because he looks like Cell, and, he's just written really well. Well, today I'm just kind of here to not really directly debunk their post, because they didn't make that many claims, but I'm here to show why. I mean, I'll just get it out of the gate right now. Raizen absolutely fucking smacks Meruem. I mean, it's a fucking, cockfest. Like, he gets dicked pretty hard. So, now I'll get into the reasons for why that is. Alright, so let's start this off by talking about some of Meruem's, I guess, like, intellect feats, or if you want to call them that. So he was beating, top world chess players. Obviously, everybody remembers Komugi playing the, like the 3D chess or 4D chess or whatever the fuck, Gungi 3D chess, obviously. And see, the thing about that is, and that is impressive that he was able to get, all those top world class chess players and just gaming players in general, and beat them within a day or, a few minutes or hours or whatever it was. But at the end of the day, he never truly beat Komugi, because even that one time where he found a counter to her, like, ultimate strategy or whatever that made her cry, she's like, oh, I never thought anybody could, counter this move, because he made the same choice that she made back in a tournament like a couple years ago or something. So, like, it really made her happy that the king would have made the same decision as her, right? Well, the thing is, she comes up with a counter for that counter. So, as far as intellect feats go, Komugi's actually got Meruem beat. So his intellect, it's definitely pretty high, but it's not like out of this world, like a human could never even attempt to achieve it. So I'm not gonna. I mean, you can obviously state that Raizen is smarter than that. Like, there's absolutely no proof for any of that. But you can't really say that, at the same time, you can't really say that Meruem is so smart that it would give him an overwhelming advantage. Because if he was beaten by Komugi, who's just a regular human, then obviously, it's not like he's gonna come up with some magical plan that's gonna, trump the just sheer force that is Raizen. There's nothing that he could think of. There's no kind of it. There's no, even if he had prep time. I'm talking even if he had Batman levels of prep time. There is absolutely nothing that this dude could think of that's gonna, really work against Raizen, right? I mean, he's very smart. Meruem, I mean, is very smart. But at the end of the day, it's not going to do much for him other than maybe help him realize how outclassed he actually is. So, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, now let's talk about speed. So for speed, well, first off, the way that we're going to scale his speed, I guess, like what we're going to compare it to, right? Netero, his Buddha Stava statue, or I guess let's just call it, for the purpose of this video, let's just call it the Buddha statue, right? So the Buddha statue comes out at above sound speeds, right? But the actual punch itself is not as fast as the motion in which he does the praying hands to bring it out, okay? So if you're following me, we don't exactly know the exact speed of how fast his punch actually, like, from after the time when his praying hands and motion is done to when that punch happens. We don't know how fast that is, but we do know that the punch, that the praying hands and the position to get into the punch are relativistic and faster than the speed of sound, or Mach 1, which is 767 miles per hour, right? Well, so what we can do to scale this is Meruem actually, you know, he was keeping, like, the entire time he was keeping up with the patterns of Netero doing this to him, and he found his opening, obviously, you know, after a few minutes, or I forgot how long it was stated, but it was after a short time he found his opening and got Netero, right? But the real impressive part of this is that not only did he attack Netero in the timing that, like, fit the misstep, basically like the mistake that he saw in the pattern of Netero's attacks, right? But not only did he actually predict the pattern and attack Netero at the correct time, but he also had to, whenever he dodged the punches, the Buddha punches, he took an arm and then a leg. Like, each mistake was like one of Netero's limbs. So not only was he fast enough to dodge the punch and knew where it was coming, but he was also fast enough in the same instant that he was dodging in a particular part of the pattern, like the attack pattern, he was fast enough to, you know, take a limb. So, I mean, if you really want to wank him, you could say he's, you know, like double the speed of sound, which, you know, put him around 1,500 miles per hour, right? So that's, you know, that's pretty fucking fast, I would say. Alright, so for his special abilities, post Rose Bomb, that's really hard to say for some reason, he actually gains clairvoyance and light manipulation, as well as, like, being able to, like, almost, like, use his, like, ki in some sort of way to create, like, an energy blast that's pretty damn destructive. So what do I mean by clairvoyance? Well, he gains Poof's ability, or Shia Poof's ability, and he kind of evolves it using his N, right? Which lets him read people's emotions, allows him to gives him, like, light manipulation. He can, like, put his photons into these little particles in the air. We're not really sure how far this thing can travel. I mean, I guess it would take the entire radius of his N, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think Pito stated his N can cover, like, you know, like a mile or something, or 2 miles, or something like that. I totally could be wrong about those numbers though, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, so pretty much the radius of his N, he's able to sense any type of emotions if he's being lied to, you know, the characteristics of any person within it, so like how strong they are, how fast they are, even to a degree probably, like, I mean, he can't read their minds, but he can kind of see their intent. Like, if you remember from, like, Dragon Ball Z, you know, in the 4th season, when Trunks first gets on Earth and Goku lands on Earth, and they have that talk in the desert, and you remember Goku doesn't even flinch or anything whenever Trunks hits him with his sword straight to his face, because he read Trunks' emotions or intent and knew that it wasn't you know, evil or with, like, any kind of, like, hatred or aggression towards him. So Meruem's able to do this kind of to a greater extent, I guess. I mean, I don't really know if I'd call it that, but down to, like, a molecular level, he's able to really just distinguish the characteristics of anyone within his own. Alright, so for his strength feats or power feats, really he's just on a city buster level. He's not all that powerful compared to Raizen. Okay, so he casually, see, there's kind of a debate here. He casually destroyed a city. I looked up what the average city size is, at least in the USA. It's around 300 miles or 482 kilometers of area. So he can at least destroy 300 miles worth of landscape. But he did that pretty casually, so I mean, it could be argued he can go way higher than that, maybe double or even triple times that. So, you know, 600 to 900 miles of it, you know, area destroyed. But there's no proof really supporting that, other than he didn't seem fatigued when he destroyed roughly 300 miles. And again, that's just an estimate taken from what the average city size is. So, I mean, and 300 is kind of a highball number, honestly. So most cities aren't going to be 300 miles. But I'm kind of, I'm trying to highball Meruem here. So, I mean, highball, city buster, 300 miles of space destroyed. But if you really want to highball them, they could go up to 600 or 900. I'm not going to really, claim that as a fact that he could do that, though. I'm just saying it's a possibility. So yeah, I mean, power feats, that's pretty much where he ends. I mean, obviously, compared to other Hunter x Hunter characters that we've seen so far, he is probably the most powerful, like, just in raw power. But it should also be taken in consideration that we, in the manga, we recently found out that Meruem was only a B class within the Dark Continent. Chimera Ants or whatever. He's only, like, what he was at was only considered a B class. And there's, like, oh, sorry about that cough. There's, like, S-class calamities, and, I mean, there's just things that are way stronger than Meruem. So as time goes on, we are going, in Hunter x Hunter, we are going to see characters that are, way more destructive than Meruem is. But yeah, he's only a city buster, roughly around 300, maybe upwards of 900 miles destroyed. So yeah, that's about it for his strength, really. Yeah, I mean, that about covers it for Meruem. I love him as a character, but we're about to get into Raizen and why you'll see that he just gets clapped. I mean, he doesn't even stand a chance. It's really child's play. So yeah, let's get right into that. Alright, so Big Papa Rai. No, but Raizen, he's strong as fuck, so let's get right into this. So, first off, how I'm going to scale Raizen, it's not really convoluted, but there's not really much to go on, right? I mean, there kind of is, so let me just get it out there, okay? So we're going to scale him off of Hiei, right? So, Hiei, in the Demon World arc, the last arc of Hakusho, he actually defeats 500 Class A, or A-class demons. A-class demons have been previously stated to be country destroyers, so they're able to wipe out a country, like a civilization or a country, not human civilization. It was specifically stated like a country. They're able to. A-class demons should be able to take out a country. So, it kind of varies. If you want to lowball, you can say that that's only 710 kilometers, which is about the size of Turkey. Or if you want to highball, you can say that it's 4,655 kilometers. So, yeah. So 4,655 kilometers is the distance, like, coast to coast of the USA. That's what I'm saying. That's a highball number. And the lowball would be Turkey, which is, a smaller size country, obviously. So yeah, so if you want to lowball that, it would be 710 times 500, which comes out to like 355,000, right? And then if you want to highball it, it's 4,655 times 500, which is like 2,327,835.63. So that's his highball number. Hiei's highball destruction number. He's able to destroy over 2 million kilometers, as opposed to Meruem's, measly 482. And that's just Hiei. So you could see where we're going with this. Hiei's already above 2 million kilometers, but we're not done yet. No, so the really, really crazy thing is that Hiei, so they do actually give power levels in the last arc of Yu Yu Hakusho, and Raizen's power level was around 1,300 at the time of him not eating anything in over 1,000 years. He was still at 1300 power level. Looking at the Makoro and the Hiei fight, Makoro is around a 1500 power level, I believe. But you can scale Hiei from that. Just kind of like a lowball number would be about a million. And I didn't mean to say 1,000 earlier. I meant to say a million. So his power level is about a million, right? So yeah, I mean for Makoro to have 1.5 million, Hiei to have a million, and then his destruction radius is already over 2 million kilometers. Well, get this. So Yomi also is comparable. I think he's around 1.4, 1.3 million also, power level. So Makuro, Yomi, and Enki, who is this dude that's like Raizen's friend that they fought, hundreds of years ago, like before, obviously before the start of the series. And Enki could never defeat Raizen, but he defeats Yomi. So that kind of scales him higher than Yomi and Makuro, because Yomi and Makuro were so close in level, and Enki just kind of, not really stomps him, but he beats him pretty damn fast. Like, I mean, Yomi gave Yusuke a 60-hour fight, and Enki, he didn't give Enki no 60-hour fight. So, yeah, he kind of scales pretty hard over Yomi. The fact that Raizen still never lost to Enki, and the fact that there's actually a manga panel, which I'll put up on the screen, that says that Enki basically tells Yusuke that had Makoro and Yomi seen Raizen in their prime, they would have shit themselves. So, I mean, if you really want to be generous, you could say that Raizen is worth all of these dudes' power levels together in his prime. So with that being the case, I've given him assuming that he has a 6 million power level. So if you give him 6 times Hiei, which seems like a pretty fair number, right? I mean, if you're thinking about all the numbers I just listed off, saying he's about 6 times as strong as Hiei, with the statement that he was stronger than Makuro and Yomi in his prime, and stronger than Enki, who just fucking stomps Yomi. 6 million seems like a fair number. So, with keeping in mind his power level 6 million, you can then scale that, because remember, at 1 million, Hiei already had over 2 million kilometers of destruction potential. So now, Raizen is over 13,960,000 and 13.78 kilometers of destruction. That's not even half the size of Earth, so he's not even planetary. And, I mean, don't get ahead of yourself. But he's just so much higher than Meruem. I mean, Meruem is 482 kilometers. This dude's at basically 14 million. So yeah, so for people to say that Meruem is stronger than Raizen is just honestly insane to me. Like, there's no basis for that. Even lowballing Raizen, even Raizen at a state of where he hasn't eaten in over a fucking 1,000 years, he's still at 1.3 million power level. And if we're scaling Hiei to only have 1 million power level, then Raizen still does greater than 2 million kilometers worth of damage. So even Raizen, when he hasn't eaten in over 1,000 years, is still doing over 2 million kilometers of damage. Like, I'm really trying to soak this in, because these people who are like Hunter x Hunter tards, I mean, I love Hunter x Hunter, don't get me wrong, but I'm not foolish enough to think that Meruem, who's only at 482 kilometers of destruction, can even hold a candle to Prime Raizen, who's fucking 14 million, or even, 1,000-year hasn't eaten fucking grandpa dying Raizen, fucking old skeleton over here at 2 million, above 2 million destruction potential in kilometers, right? And I know I should probably be listing in joules, but I'm just trying to give you an idea, like, okay, so Meruem can bust cities, but Raizen can fucking, do hundreds of thousands of times that. So, I mean, he's literally hundreds of thousands of times stronger. There just can't really be, like, any you know, debating on, like, he has nothing in his arsenal that can possibly overcome that gap. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of times. Like, he has intellect that is shown to be near human intelligence. He's hundreds of thousands of times weaker. I mean, what else do I have to say, really? But one last thing before we go, let's go over Raizen speed, and then I'll close out the video. Okay, so for speed feats, we gotta look back to Hiei again. So in the chapter Black Arc, Hiei actually saved Yusuke from an explosion at almost point blank timing. Like, it literally, someone else, I'm not gonna lie, someone else did do the calculation for this, but it does seem quite accurate to me. I'll post it in the description so you guys can check it out for yourself. But he basically calced Hiei to be moving at 5,714 to 7,692 meters per second, which comes out to about 4.7 miles per second. So yeah, so in order for Hiei to be able to get Yusuke out of that explosion, to save him from that explosion, the gas explosion, he was moving 4.7 miles per second. And like I said, the calculation, to me at least, does seem pretty logical, and it is something that I'm going to use for this video, so I'll put that in the description. So anyways, now in that arc, he is an A class. Hiei is an A class, but he's an A plus class. It's not really stated how much of a difference a regular A to A plus is. But I'm gonna actually lowball Hiei, for the sake of Meruem. We gotta give him what he can at this point. I mean, there's no way he's gonna win high or lowball, so it doesn't matter. But lowball, let's say, since you remember the feat in the Demon World arc, the last arc of Yu Yu Hakusho, where he kills 500 A class demons. Well, since he was A plus in this and the chapter Black Arc, let's drop that number down to 400, okay? So we can actually take the speed and say that he is 400 times greater than what he was in the chapter Black Arc. So he's 400 times greater than that at the point of time in which he was able to kill 500 A class demons. And yeah, I know that just because he's able to kill 500 of them doesn't mean that he's actually, hundreds of times faster than them. But I would say it kind of stands to reason, because if you remember back in the Demon World tournament, he killed that dude before he even realized, before the dude even realized, I forgot the guy's name. I probably should have looked that up, that's my fault. But you'll know who I'm talking about. In the Demon World tournament, he kills this guy who doesn't even realize that he's dead until it already happens. Like, Hiei literally is just standing there, and the guy didn't even see it happen. So in his mind, Hiei's just standing there. I mean, that in itself is already extremely fast speeds, and that's all the way back in the Demon World tournament. So for him to be moving around 5,000 to 7,000 meters per second in order to save Yusuke from an explosion, that seems pretty logical to me. And then with how hard he just scales at the end, being relevant to Makuro and fucking, old dying Raizen. Being relevant to Makuro, who is relevant to old dying Raizen, I'm gonna have to say that he's at least 400 times faster than he was in the chapter Black Arc. I mean, that just makes sense to me. So get this number. So he was moving 4.77 miles per second in the chapter Black Arc. Well, now in the Demon World arc, he's moving 1,908 miles per second, or 6,868,800 miles per hour. Okay? Keep in mind that Hiei is only 1/6 of Raizen. So Raizen's speed is 11 I read that wrong. I'm sorry. 11,448 miles per second, or 41,212,800 miles per hour. The speed of light is about 670 million miles per hour, So I mean, he's kind of relative to the speed of light, but he's not even halfway there. He's not even 1/10 of the way there, right? From my basic math, I'm not really doing a calculation on this, but it seems like he's about 7 to 8% speed of light, maybe. Yeah, around 8% of the speed of light, I would say. So he's 8% of the speed of light. Remember that I said that Highball in Meruem, he's only 4,000 miles per hour. Raizen is 11,448 miles per second, or 41 million miles per hour. So I mean, there's just no contest. And you can argue that that Meruem in his end range, which I believe is safe to be a couple miles long, can create those photons that are going to let him instantly know what Raizen's doing or his intent. Instantly let him travel to Raizen within that area. But what you have to realize is that his N is a fixed space, right? He has to let that powder out. It's like the same thing as Shia Poof. He has to let the butterfly, powder shit out into the air. And so it's not like a highly mobile thing. So what I mean by this is Raizen could simply just stay outside of the N, right? And he could speed blitz into that N, and because he moves so goddamn fast, even if Meruem was to teleport to the very furthest edge of his N away from Raizen would basically instantly already be where Meruem was. I mean, he could try to play cat and mouse with him at like a really high speed, but it's just not going to work, because as we saw, Raizen, when he was hungry for over 1,000 years of not eating, he was still able to make Yusuke bleed just by air currents. Like, he was able to just like slash the air, and the AoE effect from that was so hard that it fucked up Yusuke. So it would be, especially if we're talking about Prime Raizen here, I mean, you could probably cover the King's entire end space with with AoE damage that the King's not going to be able to escape from. Really, the only chance that the King has is to play cat and mouse with Raizen until he's tired. But I mean, the man went 1,000 years without eating. Do you honestly think that Meruem is going to be able to do anything in that type of time frame? Like, we're talking like 1,000 years without eating until he died. So imagine Prime Raizen, he's eating, he just had his morning breakfast. I don't think Meruem's gonna be able to last for 1,000 or more than 1,000 years playing cat and mouse in his end to make and who says that Meruem's stamina can even last that long to play cat and mouse with the photon trick, like teleporting on the opposite side of the end before Raizen can catch him to tire out Raizen. I mean, who says that Meruem can unlimitedly do that? I mean, there's no evidence for that. So we're just gonna have to give this to Raizen. There's literally no argument. I mean, I play devil's advocate pretty hard here, playing that cat and mouse thing. So I mean, there's literally no argument. I mean, if you honestly think that the Meruem stands a chance after watching this video, please leave a comment. I would love to hear your opinion on this, but I just don't see it happening. I'm a huge fan of both these series. I've actually never power scaled anything. This is like my first video. I know there was a lot of like, ums and stutters, and I was talking about like kilometers of destruction instead of joules, which probably sounds fucking retarded to some people, but it's my first video. I know that some of this wasn't structured the best way. I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on the subject because I thought it was insane reading this shit on amino apps or wherever I read it from. I forgot where I read it from, but talking about Meruem being able to kill Raizen and just wanking off Meruem in general, putting Meruem against people like Perfect Cell or something. I mean, like, as I proved, Raizen is not even half of planetary level, and he's only 8% of the speed of light. Raizen is. So, and he just completely trumps Meruem. So to say that Meruem can go against fucking Perfect Cell, I mean, get out of here, man. Like, what are you talking about? But anyways, hope everybody has a good day. I might make another video like this, but if not, I mean, you can always just watch me play Tenkaichi or some shit. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.